Call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Ms. Mucko. Here. Mrs. Darrow. Mr. Walker.
Here.
Mr. Erkins.
Here.
Mr. Rastegar.
We did hear a Miss Mucko or a Mr. Astigar on there. I know, is Kristen, can you hear us?
Yep. Can you hear me?
Perfect.
All right.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Perfect.
I'm here.
TM hasn't opted in yet, but he will be hopping in, but that's a quorum for the board.
Okay. Any changes or additions to the minutes? Okay. As Kristen, you are joining us online. So I'll leave this in the room. Do you have any remarks that you want to make, Kristen?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Let's move on to approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay. A second?
Second. Yep.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. Approve the minutes. And moving on through to monthly activity and financial report, Cody and Stephanie.
Thank you, Director Erkins. Thank you, members of the board. Excited to report our fiscal year end for 2025. And excited about some of the financials that I'll get a report today and some of the highlights. So just a couple of highlights. The Boise Center team in early November did Rake Up Boise as one of our initiatives with the logistics committee. So we had a small group out there because we actually had a large event in that day. So again, just a small group. We took on one house and raked the front and backyard there. Festival of Trees, obviously, at the end of November, came into early December when it finished out, but the gala and the public show all took place inside of November. Both really great, successful events. We were very, very happy with Festival of Trees. Wanted to highlight the culinary team because the culinary team, November 10th through the 13th, they roasted 104 turkeys for Boise's Rescue Mission for their Christmas holiday meals. There's a picture there of Derek McCormick and Scotty Lively slicing up the turkeys. Again, 104 turkeys. The team has just made it happen within a 3-day period of time. And then a quote there from Jason Billister from Boise Rescue Mission. Again, thank you to the culinary team for their efforts. It goes a long way during the holiday season that we are able to support that initiative using our kitchen, our commercial kitchens to make that happen. As far as the total number of events for November, we finished with 15 total events, 9 of those being banquets, 1 consumer public show, 2 conventions, and 3 meetings, Winery Market being the 1 consumer in public. Total events that we finished with was 278. Originally forecasting 262, but as I reported throughout the year to the board, we picked up quite a few meetings from the Grove Hotel remodel, as well as just throughout the year, some smaller meetings as we had less conventions. And so I'll get into that. This is a slide that I report to the board as part of the budget. But as I wrap up the fiscal year, I think it's a good way to kind of just show where we finished and where we're headed. So for 2025, we finished with 111, which is a record number of banquet/holiday events. We've rounded those all into banquets before. Back in 23 and prior, we wrapped holiday events and banquets into one because we used to separately report them. But as you can see, we did 111 of those banquets and holiday events, 99 of those being meetings. So again, those 2 numbers being historical highs. And then the number of conventions, as you'll notice, a little bit of a dip coming off of 73 and 65 from the prior years. So while 25 was successful from the convention side, it was some opportunity that I think the team has really taken a look at, and we continue to look at 2026, and we're looking at 65 total conventions. The number of those banquets and meetings obviously coming down because conventions take up a large portion of the event space. So just kind of showing how we finished and then what we're looking ahead at. As we look at the total attendance for the year, November finished off at 10,837. So again, a really good attendance number. I'll get into that on the next slide for the total for the fiscal year. But feeling really strong. A lot of that was driven from Winery Market in November. Obviously, Festival of Trees is not in there. It did hit early in December. So you'll see that number there compared to the fiscal year 24. We'll have the same thing starting out in 26 there with the attendance numbers drawn into that. One of the things that I just wanted to point out, while number of conventions were down, total number of events came up. So again, utilization of the space as best as possible. We actually achieved a record attendance in 2025, which really drives economic impact numbers of over 170,000 attendees coming through Boise Center in fiscal year 25. So very proud of the team in the building for getting that many folks in and out safely. So we're very happy with that. As far as the guest satisfaction scores, I'm extremely, extremely proud of the team here. This is not an easy thing to achieve in the world where surveys tend to be motivated by people that have less than an ideal experience sometimes. We finished the year with a 4.9. As you can see, 99 of those being at a 5 or better, and then 6 and 3 finishing off at 4 and 3 events. So that just speaks volumes to the quality of the staff we have, their dedication to the guest experience and the guest satisfaction overall. So very, very proud of that. We did have only 3 responses come in since the prior month. I'm anticipating with the holiday going on and also holidays happening, holiday parties, we'll probably see trickles in from a lot of the November events coming through still this month. As far as market strategy, I've reported for the past couple of months that the sales team has met their goals. So very, very happy there. They hit 125% of the future booked revenue, 108% of the booked economic impact of over 18.5 million. And then future booked room nights of over 30,000 or over 32,000 at 107%. National Extension Association of Family and Consumer Sciences was confirmed for October of 28. So we're already confirming business that far out, which is a great sign here, with a total estimated of 1,600 room nights, about a little shy of 200,000 in revenue, and just about 900,000 in economic impact. So very, very proud of that. Few different site visits, American Association of Naturopathic Physicians, which would be a July 2027 with a little over 600 room nights, and then National Association of Environmental Professionals in April of 29 with over 830 room nights. So a couple big site visits in November. We're hoping to get those pieces of business, and so we'll let you know. Again, speaking just to the goals in the sales team, they did an outstanding job. Want to recognize their efforts this year. We took a new metric going into this year, looking at these rather than specifics of number of leads, things like that for the sales team. And I think this bodes extremely well for the district going forward, really just focusing on that future booked economic impact, revenue, and room nights being the metric. And again, we've got goals for 26 that I'm excited to start reporting on next month. Few different operational updates. We replaced our trash compactor. We actually purchased that trash compactor. We were renting it. So this is something that we use some capital funds for. It'll allow us to save us some significant money once we pay it off compared to what we were renting each month. So this is a long-term investment that will have a return and ROI for the district and the center. I'm excited about that. We did a fiber upgrade in November that was completed by IT. And then we had 8 overnight resets just in November, early December from the Festival of Trees. So a lot of turns for the team. And then as you'll notice around the building, we had we had new trash cans installed, and there's some in the room here today for some recycling and trash cans, a little bit more attention to the recycling initiative from the green team. So we're excited to see if that draws some more attention to the opportunities for guests to recycle their products. On the food and beverage side and our front and center in-house food and beverage team, the U.S. Marine Corps 250th birthday gala was over 886 people in November. The Dairy West Convention, a huge food and beverage event, over 125,000 in food and beverage revenue. And then Idaho's 25 local transportation convention, again, another over 100,000 in revenue for food and beverage there. We got a nice photo here because at these times when either students in the middle of the day on our large lunches or just some of our largest events when we've got all of our servers going, we do an all hands several times throughout the month. And that is where we bring people from the front office, from all different teams. There's a nice photo there of several of our team members helping out the culinary team with dish up. And several of us were doing that for multiple events or helping serve events as well. So it's kind of a fun team building exercise built into our industry. As far as the operating revenues go, I'm extremely proud again of this number here. We budgeted 10.89 at the beginning of the year, challenged by the board to try to hit as close to actual as possible. We finished with an 11.6 million in operational revenues, so just over 264,000 above where the budget was. Again, you'll notice that November looking a little bit lower than what it has historically there for 25. The Festival of Trees revenue would put us into about a $1.1 million month if that was in there. So that kind of just shows you the kind of month November was, but extremely happy about that year-end number for the team and where we hit from the budget side. One of the things, and I noted this in the goals, so I sent this out to Kristen, and I believe it was distributed to the board members. Our gross profit margin did take a hit this year. We took at 16%, which is lower than what I would have expected. However, when I started adding in the revenues, what we did is at the end of November, we realized all of the expenses of Festival of Trees, but none of the revenues. And that averaged out to about a 2.7% hit on the gross profit margin. So when I dropped in the revenues of Festival of Trees, it brought it up to about an 18.7 number. So about 1.3 off of the goal. What I did talk to Kristen about is set my goal for 22% starting out this upcoming year, because it's naturally going to have a really, really strong December coming off without any of those expenses and all of the revenues coming out the gate. Plus December was a very, very strong year. One of the things that I'm working with Julie on here is just looking at labor costs seem to be some of the costs that are probably the most controllable. Some of the departments such as AV, operations, food and beverage that have large service teams, making sure that we're being as strategic as possible to manage those margins going forward. And I think, yeah, go ahead.
This is exclusively from when Festival of Trees landed. There's no other attribution.
No, there's no other really impact. July would be the other one that I highlighted. We had a negative, I think it was 112% gross profit revenue in July alone from the staff that we carried and having the number of events that we had. So again, trying to get strategic in those opportunities, utilization, keeping some revenue coming in will reduce those subsidies and the impact on that. But I'm proud of the team. They did a good job, but again, a little bit lower than what we would have expected. But we controlled what we could. And I think that going forward, we'll still be able to do better going forward. As far as economic impact, as I mentioned, the attendance really does drive. We had over 170,000 attendees come in, and that really drives that economic impact number. So we kind of saw a flat year a little bit, with last year being about 50.8 million in economic impact, obviously having a little bit less events, a little less revenue, but seeing the attendance come up, we estimated about the same, but we came out 51.2, so just slightly above the goal. But again, showing that our forecasting and our numbers that we're using for our forecasting are working well. But we had a $3.4 million economic impact month in November. Just a few updates from the district side, high level. More information to come on these in the coming weeks. But the district strategic planning session is scheduled for January 9th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We're hoping we can finish up by 3 p.m., but I blocked out until 4 p.m. just in case we needed the extra time. Excited about that process, as we'll be working with Rob Leone on a strategic plan update. His process is going to not only include the board, but actually the exec team from the operational side. So I think it's going to be a good exercise to go through, and then some follow up from the update of the strategic plan to the exec team on kind of what those goals and objectives are looking like from an operational perspective. So I think there's some follow through that we could do deeper from the last strategic plan update that Rob noticed and saw that there could be some action items taken beyond just the board level. And I agreed. And so excited to see how that process goes. So more to come on that. I did engage Johnson Consulting for a smaller second scope of work. One of the things that we're identifying is the potential of the limited land opportunities that are adjacent directly to the Boise Center, not having the total size that the original report stated. So the question is if we were to stack two 40,000 square foot exhibit halls on top of each other and get to 80,000 or 250,000 and get to 100 as the report called, what does that do from a feasibility perspective? I just know as an operator, naturally, it would not be utilized the same way if it was all contiguous space. And so we'll continue to evaluate that. Working on a second scope of work that they have sent us for that. And I'll identify from a cost perspective with the board chair whether we think that's worth it, and then also chase from the exploratory committee. But again, I'm excited about that opportunity because I think it's some money well spent if we're able to get that information. As far as 2026, the calendar of events for board's potential attendance was emailed out from Anna. We're trying to get a little further ahead, and thank you, Sophie, for that recommendation. It's just each year we sponsor several events or have the opportunity to attend events that are here at Boise Center and have tables at. So I want to get the board's participation in those as early as possible, and then we'll fill it with staff as we get closer within. So thank Anna for her efforts on that. There is one out there that we've gotten one RSVP for the January 14th date. And please respond if you're the board. I think we're waiting for RSVPs on those so that way we can fill it with staff. But we have 5 spots. It's at the legislative session from the chamber on January 14th. And then Boise Center West, those of you had to come through the east side of the building because right now downstairs in the west, it is an active construction scene. There is carpet, wall covering. The construction teams are doing an outstanding job of staying ahead of pace. We've run into a couple challenges with the broadloom carpet in the main lobby. We're working through that with when the production team will be done with that carpet to be shipped here. But we have some contingency plans. Shaw Carpet, who's the one that is actually, that's their carpet. It was their issue. They are owning it. They're trying real hard to come up with a contingency plan. I think that there is still a chance that we get our lobby carpet. This is the original one. as intended installed. If not, at the cost of Shaw, they will install a carpet very, very similar, matches all the same colors. It'll be done in carpet squares as a temporary. Then they'll pull that up in April, I believe, or whatever date we can find a big enough window to do that in. And then they would replace it with the current carpet that was ordered. So a few challenges. Want to recognize Nick and Julie for their efforts. This is a process that I used to manage each 6 or 7 years, and we do it in phases. So it's almost every other year is what it feels like. It's a lot of work. There's a lot of subs, a lot of plans that can end up changing or things that can get or in the way of the original scope of work. And so they're doing a great job of mitigating and managing that process. So I'm excited about the final carpet. As you will see, it's going to match what is over in Boise Center East and what's in here downstairs.
Is this one of the things that we also utilize Petra for?
This is.
This
So
is
we
part
did
of
that. Yep. This is that contract that we went out to the RFP for that bid. We can continue to do other scopes of work under that, but this is that scope of work originally that we went out to bid for. Great question. So lodging room revenues, just a couple things to point out here. Obviously, we've got a full year of data now to compare against the last 3 years. What I'm noticing is 6 of the months, so half of the months were actually lower than the prior year. And if you look at the last year with 24, that was just not the case. There was several over half of the year significantly was up from the prior year. So as you start noticing, there looks like there's a little bit of a trend. The last 4 months have been down. July was a little bit of level. June was actually up due to some Far West and some tournaments. But it is an indicator that we're starting to see some leveling off and potential cooling off within the market from the revenue side. And that kind of comes straight into the demand. We've had about 3 months in a row of decreased lodging room demand. So again, a little bit of the similar case study there on that as well as we're paying attention. One of the things that's interesting, and I'll get into these kind of independently here, just starting with occupancy. So these are the last 3 years of occupancy, starting with 25. And as you get into these, you'll notice there 25 was down about 3.5%, 3.4% from the prior year, but very similar to 2023. So 24 looked like a little bit stronger of a year, might be the anomaly from the occupancy perspective. But when you start getting into your ADRs, it is an interesting case study here as well, that you will notice that the ADRs are pretty much flat in November. So the same cost within 10 cents of each other each year, but a difference in some occupancies this year that we're noticing down in November. And then when you get into the whole entire year, the year finished off occupancies at 68.2. 24 was 69.5. So when you start looking at these two numbers here, 68.2 and 150 on the average daily rate, the average daily rate did increase by about $1.13. And then the occupancy did drop though by about 1.3%. So a little leveling off as we anticipated. What I had forecasted, just to hold myself accountable, I'd actually forecasted a little bit higher of an occupancy at 71.2, thinking that we were going to continue to see this climb and these two start to separate. Obviously, a couple new hotels with Renegade, a few others coming online. We're seeing that not quite as high on the occupancy side, but on the ADR side, still finishing very, very strong. I was off by about 50 cents on the average daily rate of what I estimated on that. So again, just using some metrics. I'll stand for any questions that the board may have about the fiscal year or the operating year that we just conducted. So.
You have a prediction for next year on the ADR?
I will have it next month's slide. So yes, I do. I'm working on that now.
It's the crystal ball say. All right, financial overview for year-end numbers. Boise Center revenues closed out at 11.2. District was at 13.4 million. You can see the expenses for Boise Center were 18.4. We did about $1.3 million better than what was budgeted for Boise Center, and $1 million better than the budget for the district. These are the revenues for the Boise Center and how they were broken down. You can see that each of the room sales were higher than what was budgeted, or where am I? No, prior year. So about the same. Other revenue was a little bit lower, but the beverage revenues were higher. Food revenue was higher. So that's how it was made up. The hotel tax collections for November was 1.1 million. We finished the year out at 12.1. We had forecasted 11.9. So that was Now you got me distracted. I know. So that was a really good year as in regards to the hotel tax collections. Here's your transfers. Do not like this still.
We'll have a new slide next month for that. I'm actually.
We are working on some new things for you guys. So, yeah, let's see here. In November, we transferred for the capital projects $484,000. There was a negative number you'll see in the operating strictly because there wasn't a ton of cash that was transferred over from the district to Boise Center. Part of that, I've got to give a huge shout out to my team. They have really nailed it this year in regards to accounts receivable. Our AR is down. Last year it was $360,000 that we carried over on the books. This year it's $11,000. We've made some significant collection changes and making sure that more of those fees are paid upfront before an event is in the center. The collection days are not as long. It's not sitting on our books, which you guys all know is an improvement in cash flow. So huge shout out to that. And thank you, Allie, with your team also in helping to restructure some of the contracts moving forward, which also will help with that. The investments, you guys received the report last month from Brandon and read the number you guys love to see, the income, the interest income for November was $86,570.25. I want to report on the regular checking account, the sweeps accounts that we moved over about 7 months ago. For the district in that time period, we've earned over $100,000, $100,840. For the center, it's been over $26,000. So that's a total of $126,935 in interest income, just because there's operating accounts just from using that and changing that account over. So there's some additional income there that we were not banking on. No pun intended. The district cash position, as you guys are well aware, our stabilization fund is set at $6 million. We have a restricted funds of $250,000. So cash available for projects at this time is $31,511,000.
Couple other just real quick, just want to recognize Stephanie and the finance team. They've done a great job this year of really improving processes. Continue to have great faith in the finance team and what they're doing. It's been a really successful year from my perspective. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Finance team there. I mentioned the strategic planning session. I do want to recognize Brandon Doty, who finished off a 12-year career yesterday. He'll be on through January 2nd. He actually was hired as a BPD officer. He came up in the operations department when he was 17 years old. I actually hired him when I was operations manager here. He's been here for 12 years and 4 months, but he is now going to take a next step into his career and become a BPD officer. So we're extremely proud of Brandon. I want to say thank you. We're going to do a little staff get together on January 5th to celebrate Brandon, but extremely proud of that. And then just some information on MART meetings. We're going to kick those off in the first quarter of 2026. And Jim and myself will get those going as well. We'll need to replace the contact from the city because Sean Keithley, I don't know if anybody's heard, is moving on. So we'll get that process going and started. Excited about 2026, but just want to say thank you to the entire Boise Center team and the support of the board this year. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Great work. It sounds like this is the last event of the year.
That's correct.
All right, good. You're wrapped up quick. All right. We have a motion.
Mr. Chair, I would move that pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061B to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or discipline, or to hear complaint charges brought against a public office employee, staff member, or individual agent or public school, and do so by roll call vote.
Before we do that, we need a motion for the board for the ED report.
Yes.
So we just need a first motion for that.
We need a motion to approve the ED report.
Yep.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. And then the previous motion that Jim said, is there a second?
Second.
Second, all right. Seconded, Roll call?
Now we can do
Yes.
it. Okay, perfect. Ms. McCow,
Aye.
Mrs. Darrow.
Aye.
Mr. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Erkins,
Aye.
Mr. Rastigar.
Aye.
Okay, all right, perfect. Thank you.
Is Jim gonna take timestamp?
Yes, it's 2:28.
Mike, can you come get me once they're ready for me to come back in?
No.
Sorry.
Depends on what they say.
Okay, we're back from executive session at 3:10.
Mr. Chairman, following the reviews of our executive director, I would make a motion that we provide him with a 10% increase to his salary and a 5% bonus for his work in 2025.
Is there a second?
Second?
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, motion passes. Any other business? See that there's no other business, we are adjourned.
You're just waiting for the gavel, right?
Let's do it again.
That's